Grab your drinks and have a seat. It's time for serial killers.
Hello.
Meow.
We're here.
That we are.
And we're going to tell you about... No, I'm just kidding. My name's T.
And I'm Jay.
And we are Fatal Blend. If you don't know who we are, welcome. If you've been with us for a hot minute, hello.
Welcome
back. We are here to talk to you about serial killers. So if you don't want to hear about serial killers, stop now and... bye. Because that's what we talk about. That is all we talk about. We don't talk about anything other than serial killers.
It's not true. We talk about we're drinking. We banter about bullshit.
I mean, the episodes are about nothing but
the
serial
episodes
killers.
are primarily about serial
Which
killers.
Also, how sad is it that I can actually create so many podcast episodes off of strictly just serial killers? And I'm not even I'm not even halfway through the amount of serial killers that I have just for my encyclopedias, which is 300.
And probably
so
after we get through that, there will probably be another book that
more.
comes out.
I've already seen serial killers that pop up that are not in my books, because my books are just 100. Each book is 150 of the most heinous serial killers, but some of them don't make it into the book, which all serial killers are heinous. Let's not lie. So anyways, that's what we're here to talk about. We're here to talk about that. But before we talk about serial killers, what do we talk about?
We talk about what we're drinking.
We do.
And I was going to go back on the bandwagon and do my shout out to Milo's, but I wanted something hot today, so I switched it up. Went with a black tea, peppermint tea. Yes, a little bit of sugar, but hot. That's because
it's cold
outside.
Hell.
And see, that's contradictory because hell, from what I've heard, is pretty hot. So,
my hell would be. Well, I don't know. I hate the heat. I was gonna say my hell would be being in the freezing cold, but no, I you know what, maybe
no, because I could see you moving to somewhere that gets a lot of snow and be cold before you move to somewhere like Texas.
That's true.
So don't tell me it would be cold.
That's true, because you can always bundle up. That's true. I don't like being cold, but I think I do prefer cold over hot. Although it is cold, we've in the Pacific Northwest transitioned from that fall, not warmth, but the fall not so hot weather.
Yeah, it was 42 degrees when I got up this morning.
To really cold.
No, actually, it was even colder than that. It was in the 30s when I got up this morning.
Yeah.
Because I was thinking, got to do the hoses.
Yeah, because it's getting to that point. Our trailer, we're going to have to make sure we put a heater in it when we get it back.
Yeah, they were asking if we wanted to winterize it. I was like,
I just don't see the point in winterizing it, because
then I got to unwinterize it.
It's not even that. But okay, so we're in November. My thing is, what if we want to do some camping in February? If the weather's not, it doesn't, when you're glamping, you don't have to, we go to places that
you have heat.
Right. You have heat. You are covered from the rain. And some of the places we go, we don't sit outside with the camping stuff, because we go there to we camp at the casino spot. So it's if we wanted to go camping in February, then you have to unwinterize the whole damn thing, and it's still cold outside. So it's why winterize it just on the off chance you want to use it?
Yeah. And see, my thing is about the heat is you can only take off so many layers before you can't.
Right.
So it's I don't mind the heat to an extent, because it's with the cold, you could always put on more layers. But with the heat, it's you are where you are.
Yeah, that's kind of how I feel
Without
too.
getting the cops called on you, you got to stop at a certain point.
True story. Okay, so what are you drinking if you're... Oh, you already said it.
Yeah, I did.
Oh my God. See, I went on this whole thing about cold. And so I guess it's my turn. So what am I drinking? Well, you see, I'm going to tell you a little story, because that's what I like to do. Literally 2 weeks ago, I had strep throat. We remember, because Jay and Sierra did the podcast. And since then, I have gone like 2 weeks of having a sore throat. Not strep throat. No, not like that, but like a super dry, feel like my throat is on fire desert half the time, especially at night, sore throat. Today is the first day in 2 weeks that I'm like, I can swallow and I don't have any sort of pain. So I am drinking tea with honey. And the reason I'm drinking that now is because when I had strep throat and when I was dealing with this issue with my throat, when you drink the tea with honey, it coats your throat and it hurts more, I think. I know they say that it doesn't, but it absolutely does. I will never drink honey with tea when I have strep throat or a sore throat again because it coats your throat but makes it harder to swallow. Now, for those of you wondering, most likely it's because of the medication I'm taking. I'm taking medication that very much could be the cause of what my sore throat issues are. But right now, I've already had coffee for the day, so I am drinking tea, black tea with a little bit of honey.
And a scoop of dirt.
No, because it's got honey in it, so it doesn't have the natural tea flavor.
It safe there.
It still has a little bit of tea flavor, but not. It's almost to the point where it's like too sweet. I didn't put too much honey in it, but if there's too much honey, I don't want to drink it.
Yeah.
Anyways,
now that we've gotten through the tea, get it? The tea.
Tea.
Kind of like we're spilling the tea. We need to get into who we're talking about, which would be
Rory Enrique Conde. He is known as the Tamiami Trail Strangler. He has 6 victims. His murder dates are 1994 to 1995. His location is Tamiami, Florida.
Ooh,
his method of murder is strangulation, and a characteristic is necrophilia.
Gross.
So Rory was born June 14th, 1965 in Colombia. Now, at the age of 6 years old, his mother dies of tetanus, which is really unfortunate. And his paternal grandmother ends up taking over and taking care of him and his sister, Nellie. Now, at the age of 12, he does end up going to live with his father in Miami, which is how he goes from Colombia to the United States. However, his father was emotionally abusive, so Rory's life wasn't that great. There wasn't really much about whether he was physically abused, but there most definitely was a lot of claims that his father was emotionally abusive to him, which is just as horrific as being physically abused. Now, Rory was described by people as an introvert and a loner. And I really hate when people say that because I'm an introvert and kind of a loner. I have like one friend and then Jay.
Yay.
Like that's my circle.
I made the cut.
Like my family, of course, but like I don't have a lot of friends because I don't want a lot of friends. I don't want to go out and socialize. Only in specific locations do I want to socialize. And I'm an introvert by nature. If I meet you in public, I'm not talking to you. If you say hi, I'll say back. Say hi. Well, it even depends on who you are. If you say hi, I might say hi back. But I don't do well in situations with people. Probably think I'm really crazy because I really don't. When I get put on the spot, I turn bright red. Like if I'm in class, like if I'm in school, I can always remember being in college and having to like give speeches in my speech class or giving a presentation. And it's like my face turns bright red and my voice goes like 7 octaves higher than I normally speak. Sounds like I'm going to fucking cry because my voice quivers and I can't I can't talk. That's the kind of introvert I am. So I hate when they always point out like, oh, they were an introvert. Like all serial killers are introverts. No, they're not. Ted Bundy wasn't an introvert. He was like all charismatic and shit. Being an introvert is not a bad thing.
No, some of the people we've talked about definitely aren't introverts. They're out there just slinging women. The one guy that was on the dating show, not an introvert.
No, and being a loner does not equal a bad person or a serial killer either. Sometimes being somebody who likes to be alone, honestly, I think it's good for your mental health to want to be alone because it gives you time to get a brain break from the rest of the damn world. So I am not judging Rory for being an introvert and a loner. Now, in 1985, Rory meets a girl named Carla, and they meet through mutual friends. And 2 years later, in 1987, the two of them get married. And Rory is actually 21 at this time, and Carla is 15. So that's a bit of a problem.
Yeah.
Now, they do end up having 2 children, Rory Jr. and Nydia. And Rory at one point was actually attending Miami-Dade College, but he does eventually drop out for whatever reason, probably because he had a family. He gets a job at a lumber company, and the family eventually moves in with Carla's parents. And I think it's purely because based off of what he was making in their lifestyle, they couldn't cut it. Now, in 1989, they do end up moving into their own apartment in the Tamiami Trail area in Florida. Now, their marriage would not be described as great. Their marriage would be described as violent. Their marriage would be described as volatile. Volatile? Is that the word?
Yeah, it's another word for violent.
Okay. Rory was abusive towards Carla. Like, on one occasion, they got into an argument, and he ends up throwing Carla out of their home. And when he kicks her out of their home, and I mean throws her out as in physically pushes her out the door, she is naked and heavily pregnant. So that's abusive as fuck.
Yeah.
Now, it was very common for Rory to actually kick, punch, choke, smother, and threaten Carla with a gun on numerous occasions. So again, they do not have a good marriage. So do not think for one second that Rory is a good guy. Now, in 1991, Carla arrives home from work early. She was not expected to be home from work early. And while she's there, she walks into their family room area where the TV is. And there's the recorder, like a video camera recorder type thing that was on somewhere in there that I don't think was normally out. And she was just like, that's weird. So she goes over to it. There's a tape in it. So she's like, cool, I'll turn it on. And when she turns it on, she actually sees that there's a woman on this tape wearing lingerie and also doing some sexual acts on the tape as well. So she obviously is like, well, I didn't record this. So I'm assuming it was Rory. So she goes to Rory. She says, excuse me, sir, can I talk to you about this videotape? And he said no and beat the shit out of her instead. Because, that's how you handle your problems.
That seems to be the answer he always used.
So on that specific occasion, he does actually go to jail for a little bit of time for domestic battery. Now, over the next 3 years, they would break up and reconcile multiple times, which I feel like is kind of the norm when it comes to abusive relationships. And their relationship eventually starts to kind of fizzle out. They were no longer intimate with each other, which, to be fair, good on you, Carla, because I would not be intimate with somebody who was beating the shit out of me. I don't think I'd be sticking around. Actually, I think I'm not going to tell you what I do because there'll be some weird shit that comes out and then people will be like, T goes to jail. Okay, so we're not just going to, whatever. My point is, I don't feel like I would stick around, but I've never been in that position, so I can't actually say what I would do because I know it's different. But I most definitely am not being intimate with that person either. Now, because of this leads to Rory leaving their home for long periods of time, especially at night. So like when nighttime comes, the kids are in bed, Carla's getting ready for bed, Rory gets his fucking clothes on and goes outside and leaves for long periods of time. And he would tell her, well, I'm going to go fishing in the fucking wherever, Florida river or whatever. Tamiami. If Tamiami has a river, that's where he was going, but whatever. But in reality, what he was doing is he was actually peeping in windows of women and masturbating at what he saw. So that's what he was spending his nights doing. Now, he does get caught doing this in 1993 because Carla one night was like, are you really fishing? Because you never come back with fish. So that's weird. So Carla's like, okay, bye, have a good time. And then she follows him. And she catches him doing this. Also, Carla, why didn't you call the cops? Because she didn't call the cops. Yeah. Why didn't you call the cops? Now,
she loved him.
Well, exactly. She had that weird trauma bond with him, right? So then in 1994, Rory starts working for Booker and Company. And in this specific company, he was a building supplies salesman. And he was said to have been like a positive light to his coworkers. Everybody thought very highly of him. He was deemed as being helpful, outgoing, which is weird because he was an introvert and a loner, right? So that's what the persona was that he put on, which, by the way, I myself being an introvert, Used to own a coffee shop. I most definitely had a barista hat that I put on every day I went to that coffee shop. So I can see how he can look and act the part, because that's exactly what you do as an introvert. But then you go home and you're so exhausted you just want to like pass out because your brain can't handle the fact that you've been being outgoing all day. So during this time that he's working at Booker & Co., he is still treating Carla like shit, and not one person at his work would ever even believe that he could be abusive towards his wife, because he's just so fantastic. And he is also during this time meeting up with prostitutes because he's no longer having any intimacy at home. So in July of 1994, Carla actually leaves Rory. Yay. I wish we had like a clapping sound. Yay, Carla. She takes her kids and she moves into her parents' home. And that's it. Now, Rory does try to reconcile with her multiple times, but she sticks with it. And she's like, I'm going to file for divorce. Like, I'm not coming back to you. So, of course, he tells her, okay, fine. But if I see you dating anyone else, I will kill you. So, cool. Way to go, guy.
He didn't take it too nicely.
Right. So this brings us to September 17th, 1994. Police find the body of 27-year-old Lazaro Comasana. Now, Lazaro was a cross-dressing prostitute and former hairdresser. Now, often Lazaro would go by the name Jessica or Vanessa. I think they would go by the name Jessica or Vanessa when they were out doing prostitution type stuff. Now, the night before Lazaro dies, they were seen near the Tradewinds Motel. And they had done a search of a room in the Tradewinds Motel where they believe that Lazaro had been staying. And they did find some drugs and some things that were like, okay, yeah, they were here. Now, at this time, there really isn't anything that they can go to bring charges against anyone. I think at this point, as we've seen in many cases, it's a prostitute. So not only a prostitute, but a prostitute that's a drug addict. So therefore, just part of your life.
Circumstantial. So it's not it's not like a slam dunk. So it's like,
right. It's kind of like fuck around and find out life. Like that's kind of what it was. So they just kind of was like, okay, whatever. Then on October 8th of 1994, so this is the following month, people who were living near the Florida International University found a 44-year-old woman named Eliza Martinez. Now, she had also been a prostitute. She was also someone who had been addicted, and she had been murdered. And again, it's kind of like, well, I mean, when you find a prostitute dead, like, what do you expect? It's part of the, it's just that bullshit thought process of, well, that's the life you chose. I mean, the consequences. So I don't think they dig into it too much at this point. Then on November 20th, 1994, so again, 1 month later, 23-year-old Charity Faye Nava, her body is found on the side of the road in West Dade. Now, on this victim, on her body, on Charity's body, the word third, like the third with an exclamation point, then it is written on her body. And then it also says, I will call Dwight Chan 10, see if you can catch me. So this is written on her back, from her back all the way to her buttocks. Okay.
Damn.
So it's written. Now there is a happy face that dots the I. And then they used 2 drawings of eyes, like eyeballs, instead of writing out the word see. So where it says, see if you can catch me, it's 2 eyes. And then it says 2 eyes if you can catch me. Dwight Chan was a reference to a TV anchor, Dwight Lauderdale. And this was, again, written from her back all the way down to her buttocks. And it was signed NYR. Okay, so now they're kind of looking at this like, I think this is one of the ones where like, okay, I don't think we can just chalk this up as like, oh, it's an overdose. Yeah. Like, we can't, no. Now, on November 25th, 1994, so 5 days after Charity is found, the body of 38-year-old Wanda Cook is found in a parking lot of an apartment complex. She had been asphyxiated, which is unlike all the other victims. This originally makes the police think that her death is unrelated to any of the other deaths that they have seen. And by the time Wanda's body is found, most of the prostitutes working in the Tamiami Trail area had actually stopped working that area and moved on to other areas, because even though they hadn't come out and blatantly said that they thought there was a serial killer, if you're working in the area and prostitutes are coming up dead and missing, you are not going...
I think word travels fast.
Yeah.
It's not like they put it on the news, but within
and we know...
within the community.
Correct. We know that police and FBI tend to wait quite, well, in my opinion, too damn long to announce that they have a serial killer, because they don't want to cause panic. But the community comes together and they're like, yeah, okay, so, we know who of these people, they're all ending up dead. And so, like, maybe we should kind of pump the brakes and go somewhere else. So on December 19th, 1994... 28-year-old Nicole Schneider's body was found in a residential area near the Tamiami Trail. Now, this was near a shopping center, and weirdly enough, the police had actually set up a command center near that area as well to investigate the murders. So it's kind of weird that her body was found near where their command center was. Now, it was after this murder, this specific murder of Nicole, that the police officially come out and admit that there is a serial killer.
Well, so that's 6 or 5?
I was just going to say, so it took 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So after the 5th victim, they're like, okay, folks, we might have a serial killer. And by the way, please remember that his murder started in September and this is December. So in literally 3 months, he has killed 5 women. But remember also, one of them, they were kind of like, is she really part of this? I'm not sure. So they were kind of like, again, I think the reason, because I would assume that, because as we all know, a serial killer is somebody who kills 2 or more people with a cooling off period. So after the second murder of a prostitute that was very similar to the first, that is when you should have been putting. Yeah, that is when you should have been saying, hey, we might have a potential serial killer. If you are a prostitute, please beware. Be vigilant. How about you don't work in this area? Find another place to go, kinds of things. But they waited until 5 bodies before they were like, oh, yeah, I guess we have a serial killer. Side note, because I forgot to say this, Nicole, she was actually a homeless woman who had been arrested multiple times for prostitution. So at this point, every person that has been killed was a prostitute. Now, they also, after her murder, not only did they officially admit to having a serial killer, but this is when they also created the moniker, the Tamiami Trail Strangler. This is when they started calling him the Tamiami Trail Strangler. So they'd say like, oh, we have a serial killer. It's the Tamiami Trail Strangler, which is a really long name.
That is.
Now on January 12th.
Call him THS.
Now on January, like BTK. Now on January 12th of 1995. Police find the body of 21-year-old Rhonda Dunn. Now, a week prior to her murder, she had actually been warned repeatedly by the police. Do not solicit clients in the Tamiami Trail area. There is a serial killer, which again, like I said, after the second, they probably should have started these warnings. They waited until the 5th body, but the police did go to the area. And I do appreciate, because, we've seen some cases where they don't even care. So at least in this one, they cared enough to go to the Tamiami area where the prostitutes would be working and saying like, if I were you, I would not be soliciting clients here. There is a serial killer in this area. And he or she, most likely he, but he or she is collecting their victims from you guys that are here in Tamiami. So go somewhere else. So Rhonda was warned, but she went ahead and did her thing, I guess. So after the murder of Rhonda, the Miami...
Well, that's because the pimps don't care.
Well, that's true. I mean, to be fair, accurate. They were probably like, I don't give no fucks.
Pimps are like, make my money.
Stupid bitches. Which, I got a whole fucking view on prostitution and legalization, but that's not what we're here to talk about. Anyways, so after the murder of Rhonda, Miami-Dade police connected all 6 victims through one suspect's DNA. So now they officially can say these 6 women have all been killed by the same person. But that
took a while.
But they do not know who the DNA belongs to.
But they just know the DNA is a match.
The DNA matches on all 6 victims, though. So they are able to say, okay, we were right. We do actually have a serial killer. So, now we need to find out who this DNA belongs to. So after this whole thing happens, Rory actually starts hanging out with another prostitute named Cheryl Peterson. Now, in February of 1995, one night they go to leave his apartment and she asks him, hey, can you drive by my friend's house because she's going to write down your license plate number because there's a serial killer out here and I want to, protect myself. And he fucking did. He fucking drove by her friend's house. Her friend writes down the license plate. And everything goes off without a hitch after that for her. Like, he doesn't kill her. He doesn't even try to kill her. And so Rory also kind of gets attached to her, though. And he actually offers her $600 to move in with him. Like a pretty woman type thing.
Yeah.
And so I don't know if it was because she was vigilant enough to be like, hey, because if you think about it, had he not driven by her friend's house, she would have gotten out the car at any moment as soon as the car stopped, she'd be out the car. Because, right, that's suspicious. Yeah. So he did it. And he didn't try to kill her or anything like that. So it worked out in her favor. But then again, he liked her enough that he wanted to have her move in with him for $600 and whatever. Now, on June 19th, 1995, police are dispatched to the Trail Heights apartment complex because they have some police reports of what they think is a domestic violence call. So they get to this apartment complex, and as they're outside this apartment complex, they hear like banging on the walls coming from one of the apartments. So they go to this apartment. Because of the banging on the wall, they have probable cause to kick in the fucking door. Okay. So they kick in the door. They find 30-year-old Gloria Maestre bound and gagged in this apartment. Now, she is able to tell police that she had been attacked, and she tells the police, the man who attacked her was that man. And she's pointing to pictures that are in his apartment of him. She's like, that's the guy. He's the one who attacked me. And they're like, cool. So they figure out who he is. They're able to find out who owns the fucking apartment. They're able to track him down, and they find him at his grandmother's house.
Just hanging out.
He is arrested on June 24th, 1995. Now, the police do actually then obtain search warrants, right? Because just because you can kick in the door to save this woman, you can't go searching the house, right? It's not probable cause to search the rest of the house. I'm sure you could search for other people, but you can't like dig through the drawers and shit, right?
If you find stuff, it's like inadmissible.
Yeah. So after finding her, though, and then arresting him, they go to the courts and they're like, okay, this is what we got. They're like, yeah, go search his house. So they go into his home. They do get his DNA also from him. Like, they actually go in to talk to him and say, we want and they got a warrant for his DNA as well. And the DNA, of course, does link him to 5 of the 6 murders at first. Then they bring this information to Rory, and he actually ends up confessing to all of them. Because it's like, what are you going to say?
Yeah, what are you going to do? When they put all the evidence out in front of you.
Yeah, they're like, this is what we got. So he actually does tell them why he murdered these women, which is also very rare. You don't hear this very often. So he tells them, like, yeah, I murdered them, but I did it because my wife just left me.
All right, well, that doesn't sound like a good reason to me.
So his arrest is an actual shock to like a shit ton of people who knew him. They all were like, who, what? Rory, Mr. Outgoing, Mr. Happy-go-lucky, Mr. Sweet Guy, Rory.
Never truly know somebody.
However, his neighbors were like, listen, here's the thing. Like, he seemed fine, but we did catch him doing weird things like peeping in women's windows. Sometimes we'd see him drag duffel bags to his car in the middle of the night.
Cutting your grass with a scythe.
Now, Rory is charged with 6 counts of first-degree murder, and he actually is supposed to face separate trials for each one. So he's supposed to basically have 6 different trials, which is weird to me, but whatever. Now, his first case that he is tried on is the murder of Rhonda Dunn, which, again, was the last person he killed. In October of 1999, after the jury hears his confession, they find him guilty.
I wonder if he was also charged for the lady he had bound.
Oh, I'm sure he was. Oh, yeah. I'm sure he was. Now so Rory is actually on March 7th of 2000, Rory is sentenced to death for the murder of Rhonda Dunn. He then later pleads guilty. So then he signs a plea deal. And he ends up pleading guilty to all the other murders. And he receives 5 life sentences without parole. So he gets 5 life sentences without parole and 1 death penalty. Now, he obviously, as you can just guess, he appeals the death sentence on September 4th of 2003. And they deny his appeal. So then in 2016, Rory appeals his death sentence again. And at this time, his death sentence is actually overturned. And as of 2025, so as of right now, he is still waiting to be resentenced for the death of Rhonda Dunn, which is so fucking wrong. It's been 9 years.
They didn't get a choice, so he shouldn't have one either.
What I don't understand is that's fine. You want to overturn his death sentence for whatever reason, that's fine. But then you need to make his resentencing like the next month. He should not be allowed to go 9 years without being... I know he has 5 life sentences, but like that's not fair to Rhonda Dunn or her family. He's basically not being held accountable now for Rhonda Dunn's murder.
But really, let's really talk about it. Even if it was... You know, he appealed, they did it, and they said, oh, no, here, you're guilty, you got the death penalty.
I know.
He'd be sitting on death
I
row.
know, he would, because we don't, again, pet peeve 101 about death penalty. We don't enforce it, which is fine. I don't care. If you don't have the death penalty, that's fine. But like, why do we give the death penalty if we're not going to enforce it? Just don't give it, because what I feel like it does is it gives a false hope to these families who are pro death penalty, right? Like if somebody kills my sister or my brother or my family or my friend, you know, a member of my whatever, and you say, okay, they get the death penalty. I'm gonna be like, cool, I'll be there when he dies. And then if that day never comes, like that's a letdown. That's like a smack in the face to the family. I would rather you say, we don't want to do the death penalty. Instead, we're going to give him life in prison without parole and he can never get out. And I'd be like, cool, at least I know he's serving time. But when you give death penalty and then on top of it, you overturn it, but I didn't read, there was nothing that talked about why it was overturned. My guess would be something that had to do with fucking the admission that he, you know, whatever, his admission of guilt or whatever. But it's like, I don't understand how we give the death penalty, the selected jury gives down that sentence, and then one judge is like, yeah, I agree. I don't think that was the right sentence. Let me overturn it. And then also let me sit here and watch you for 9 years and not resentence you. Again,
If you're guilty for murder, it should just be automatic.
It's just, well, I just don't get it. If you've been listening to us long enough, you know that I actually am very pro prison reform. I think our prison system is trash. However, for people like Rory, prison for life is the minimum thing we should be doing.
Yeah, and if you've killed more than one, it wasn't an accident, right?
No.
Like if you're considered a serial killer, you've gone out multiple times with a cooling off period, there shouldn't be a question of what your sentence is.
No, not at all.
It should be what you did, which is death.
I mean, I'm not even necessarily saying that, because I only am a proponent for the death penalty because it exists, right? In the state of Washington where we live, it does not exist. So for me, when somebody gets caught as a murderer, especially a serial killer, I go into that research when I look into them knowing that they will not have the death penalty, and it doesn't bother me. That's fine. They don't have to die. I'm not saying, because I do think it's kind of it's a weird thing to be like, you killed people? Death to you. Well, we're killing you then. That's no different. Like, you're literally doing that whole do as I say, not as I do thing. And I don't agree with that kind of shit. That's not the kind of parent I am. I'm very against that hypocritical bullshit. So for me, if you're against killing and you're going to punish somebody for killing and you punish them by killing them, that's really that's not really how it goes. So I actually don't care about the death penalty.
I'm all about an eye for an eye type of guy.
That's fine. I'm just saying, but for me, the death penalty, I could care less if we have it or don't. None of that bothers me. It just bothers me when you give the sentence out and then don't do it.
Yeah.
It's like the equivalent of an empty threat to your fucking child. That's what I can't stand. You don't threaten to, well, I don't spank my kids anyways, but the people in this world who threaten to spank their kids and then don't spank their kids, that's why your kids are assholes, because they know you're not going to do it. So when you threaten the death penalty with somebody anybody who receives the death penalty 9 times out of 10 knows most likely that they're not going to ever be put to death.
Life.
Yeah, they basically have life in prison on death row, which is not fun, but still. Why
Except
the
for
fuck?
some guy a couple days ago, I think I thought I saw it, that he died by firing squad.
Yeah, firing squad. I did see that. I was going to look more into it. But I mean, I guarantee you that motherfucker's been in jail for like 25 years. I don't think, I highly doubt he got death penalty.
Back in 1902.
Yeah, like I highly doubt that he killed somebody or killed whatever his reason was. I highly doubt that he did that. And then like 2 years later, his death sentence was put into place because that does not seem to happen. Because of appeals, because we allow appeals, which again, if you're going to allow the appeals, then stop giving out the death penalty because 9 times out of 10, it gets overturned. It does. But then they get overturned to a life sentence, which is why it makes me mad that he didn't get any sentence at all. Like, judge, fine, overturn it. But you should have in that same day said, I'm going to overturn your death sentence and make it a life sentence without parole. And now you have 6 life sentences. But I guarantee you they're just going to never sentence him because he already has 5. So it's like, why bother?
So it's like, whatever.
But it bothers me because what about Rhonda Dunn and her family? That's pretty... if it wasn't for Rhonda Dunn, by the way... Well, that's not true, actually. I was going to say they wouldn't have caught her. She was just his last victim. So anyways, that is the story of Rory. Would you like to hear the shots?
That's why we sit through this whole thing.
So the hunt for Rory was the largest in history of the Metro-Dade Police. John Farrell, who was the chief agency's criminal investigation unit at the time, he said, we had 108 investigators on the case and all at one time. So 108 people were investigating the serial killer. And they investigated more than 5,000 leads. That's a lot.
And the only reason why they caught him is because the lady was banging up against the wall in his apartment.
Well, they would have eventually caught him because Rory was actually on their list of leads. He was lead number 4,919.
Oh, well.
They would have got to him eventually. Yeah, he most definitely would have racked more people up, but he was on their list of leads, but he wasn't like the lead, which is so crazy. Because in my mind, I'm like, man, when you hear them say like we had 5,000 leads, like, are you just guesstimating? Apparently, no. Apparently, they numbered them bitches because they were able to look through and see which lead Rory was.
How would you like to know that you were on the list and you were in front of?
I know.
You're like, wait a minute, it's bullshit.
Now, NYR, remember the I don't want to call it a note, but remember when he wrote on the back of one of his victims and he signed it NYR. It was found out later that the N is the initial of Rory's daughter. The Y is the Spanish word for and, like and the R was the initial of Rory. Yeah. No, of him.
Oh, not Rory Jr.?
No. So the thing that's weird though is how the fuck you gonna put your daughter in that?
Yeah, that's crazy.
Like, what the fuck? So first of all, why you put your daughter in that? Because now people are gonna think she was involved. Like that's weird. Now, once the prostitutes of the community started to leave the area, because again, they started to disappear on their own because they were like, listen, I'm not here to die. I'm just here to make some money and make a living. So they start to leave the Tamiami Trail. Well, while people were worried about the murderers and they were worried about having a serial killer in the area.
But they were happy the prostitutes were leaving.
They were happy that the prostitutes were leaving the area as well, which I think is so fucked up. That is so fucked up. Listen, I understand that y'all, most of you probably don't agree with me on this. Okay. And that's fine. We can always disagree. I don't mind, but prostitutes are people too. And prostitutes are making a living because that's how they're making a living. And prostitutes don't bother me. They just don't bother me. I don't have an issue. If I walk down the street and I see a prostitute, I don't give 2 shits. It doesn't bother me. So the
what
fact
they're
that
doing to make money, that's their choice.
Well, and I understand that prostitutes bring some weird ass clients, but maybe you should be asking yourself why you're happy. Is it because your husband isn't going to be able to go see this prostitutes anymore? Is that why you're happy? Because why would you be happy that women were leaving the area or
brings down the value of the neighborhood?
I mean, I get the idea behind that.
Bring trashy people around.
I can understand the idea behind it, but I would never sit there and go, I'm so happy that this serial killer came into town so that all the prostitutes left. Like, I don't understand that concept. And again, I am a proponent actually to legalize prostitution, so it's an actual business, and then you don't have that problem. And that's just I know that a lot of people disagree, but I most definitely think that if we legalized it, then these women would be protected. They wouldn't have pimps. They could pay taxes and they'd be healthy. They'd have requirements they'd have to follow. And then it wouldn't be a trashy industry
They'd be like a legal
anymore.
companion.
It's literally no different. Seriously. It's no different than having let's be real, some strip clubs. It's no different than some strip clubs. It's no different than some of the bikini barista areas that we personally have here in Washington. There is some prostitution that goes on out of those places. And I feel like it just puts them in a bigger danger when it's illegal because you have to keep it on the down low. If you don't have to keep it on the down low, it can become a respected business.
When you have like the bunny ranch and stuff like that in Vegas.
In Nevada. Outside of Los Angeles, prostitution is, or not Los Angeles,
Vegas.
Las Vegas, prostitution is legal. And it's like, well, good. Then these are actual legitimate businesses that these people can run. And I just think it's a thing. And then maybe people won't look down on prostitutes. And maybe when they die, they'll be taken more seriously because then they're businessmen and women then at that point, instead of prostitutes, which apparently are lesser than everyone else. Sorry. Okay, I'll get off my soapbox. I feel like y'all are going to get tired of listening to me because I have so many opinions and I'm very opinionated and my opinions don't match most people. So, okay.
Or that's why they do listen.
Now, at one point in the investigation, Sergeant Felix Jimenez said that he felt that the Tamiami Trail Strangler had killed Rhonda Dunn because he was craving attention. So remember Rhonda, the one that he got his fucking sentence overturned for. Now, the reason he says this is because during the time that Rhonda was killed, the news of his murders had actually taken a back seat. They weren't talking about the serial killer as much. They weren't talking about the things he was doing because there was 5 murderers who had escaped from prison, and that's what the focus was on. So he actually said, I think he killed Rhonda not because he necessarily wanted to kill her, but he wanted to get back in the limelight.
He wanted that focus on him.
Now, after Rory killed his victims, he would engage in necrophilia acts with the body. He had admitted to that.
Well, that's where they got his DNA from.
Well, yeah. Now, at one point, Rory was discussing the serial killer with others. Like he was sitting in like a group of people, either at work. I think they were at work, or he was with friends or something. And they were sitting there discussing this Tamiami serial killer. And he says, yeah, I don't think the police are ever going to catch him. And his friends were like, really? Why not? And he goes, because he's a really smart guy.
Just boosting himself up.
The first time somebody says to me about a serial killer, you give kudos, I'm looking at you.
It's you.
I'm literally looking at you because I don't think anybody is going to say, I don't think he's going to get caught because he's too smart. I just don't think so.
He's a genius.
So it's like, that should have been red flag number 1. But anyways, so that is the official story of the Tamiami Trail Strangler.
It's an interesting one because you hear about some of the different sides, how people are like, "Ooh, yeah, murder's bad, but thanks for cleaning up our street." Like,
yeah, that fucking took me. That took me for a minute because I'm like, listen, first of all, these prostitutes aren't doing nothing to you, like nothing to you. And if your spouse, significant other, boyfriend, girlfriend is hooking up with a prostitute, that sounds like an issue. You and them, not they're just doing their job. Like they're doing what's gonna make them survive.
That's an issue, not an ish-me.
Like, give me a break.
But then again, it's like this just kind of falls into some of the other ones we've talked about where it's prostitutes being murdered, and it doesn't seem like there's not a rush. There's not like that need for action behind it.
That's why I'm saying if we legalized prostitution and took away that taboo about prostitution, then maybe...
Would they treat it different?
Yeah. Would they look at it and go, oh, somebody died, not, oh, a prostitute died. No, somebody died. Like that's the part that I can't stand is whenever I've done stories about prostitutes dying, the first thing I always see is, well, it's a prostitute. Well...
And the fact that people look at it like that is what bothers me the most, I think. Me too.
I'm not the nicest person in the world, but I believe in human beings. Like every person in this world is a human being. That's why I talk about the backgrounds of the serial killers, because at the end of the day, they might be evil, but they're also humans. And most humans aren't born evil. So something triggers or happens to make them evil. And so it's like, I still have a heart for humans. And so for this particular, every time I read or do research on somebody who kills multiple prostitutes, and I feel like when it's prostitutes specifically, I feel like they get away with it and can kill more before they're even looked at as a serial killer, first of all, and before they even put links of them together, because it's like they just automatically assume, well, it's part of the job. It's a risk, that's part of the risks. And it's like, yeah, but see, if you legalize them, those risks would go away.
Right.
Because now you're a legitimate business with records and shit. And now you keep, because the whole reason that these women don't keep records and do shit on the side and do shit and do go to these shady ass areas to pick up people is because they'll get arrested if they don't. Well, if you take away that fear of being arrested and instead turn it into an actual way for them to live their life and do it if they want to, without pimps and all the shit involved, it's a totally different thing. So it's just weird to me. It's just really weird. I don't know. But that was the story for the week. So I hope you enjoyed it. Guess what? My throat still does not hurt. So I'm very happy about that. I'm like, fingers crossed, please. But I have to take medication tomorrow, and I'm worried that it's just going to rear its ugly head. So we are going to see how this goes. But thank you so much for listening to us again this week. We appreciate you. If you like what you hear, please make sure you're following us. Share us if you think somebody else would like to hear what we have to say. And other than that, I want to say once again, thank you so much for listening to us tell the story about Rory Conde, the Tamiami Trail Strangler. Until next week, goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Remember to lock your doors and bar your windows. Until next time.